All right. This is the first time I'm going live on YouTube. And it's mostly because I could not record a video because my computer just doesn't want me to do that right now. So this is the third episode of my podcast that I'm live streaming. I'm also going to click record on my podcast here. So give me a second here. Hello and welcome to the third episode of Podcas. I'm Cassie, your host, and I'm really excited to be talking about religion and spirituality today. Now, this is a topic that I know I've avoided in the past because it's kind of taboo. Like certain things are a little bit like, ooh, touchy, or I didn't want to offend anyone. I kind of wanted to stay clear of any confrontation. That's kind of how I lived in my past. Now I don't care. I do care. I do care. But I don't care as much about what people are internalizing or thinking about me because that's none of my business. That's their business. Okay. So I just want to be open and kind of dive into wild topics and to maybe bring up different perspectives that are like, whoa, that's kind of crazy or weird or awesome. And I don't want to hold back. I'm kind of sick of it. I'm sick of holding back. I've done that a long time on Instagram. That's why I'm on a break right now from Instagram. It just felt like I was trying and then holding back and then trying to do something to help the algorithm and I'm like, I'm out of alignment here. I got to step back. So here I am live on YouTube. I've never done this before, but I'm really excited to talk about, again, spirituality versus religion. So I also just want to preface this with saying this is not anything against religious people. I'm not trying to bash people that are religious, or I was religious. I mean, my family is religious. I have friends that are religious, and this is nothing to do with putting down people that have beliefs that are different than mine. It's actually just exploring the idea that maybe looking at your beliefs from a different viewpoint, as in kind of stepping back, having that bird's eye view of what you've always believed and being like, okay, where did this belief come from? Why do I believe this? And what do I believe now in actuality? And it's just a good thing to do, to check in with ourselves once in a while, even when it doesn't have to, in everything in life, in all aspects of life. So I thought that this was a really interesting topic that I kind of touched on in my last episode, but I was going in and out, weaving in and out of this topic of spirituality. I really talked a lot about my depression and just a lot of random shit in my life. But for today, I really want to stay focused. I actually have a list of notes because I'm like, I don't want to forget a random thing that I've been thinking about. And I've been thinking about talking about this for such a long time. I never thought I would go live on YouTube to talk about this. But let's just dive in. I really want to talk about how I began my experience with religion up until now with how spiritual I am, because it's kind of like, wow, it's a wild ride. My eyes are way more open than they ever were in my past. So it's really a much better life here that I live today than I did in the past, where I was like, what the fuck? What the actual fuck? So I began as a Presbyterian. I was forced to go to Sunday school every Sunday. Once in a while, my mom would be like, okay, I'll just pretend you guys are sick. You can stay home. Don't tell the Lord. So once in a while we were able to skip, but mostly we had to go to church on Sundays. And it really was completely against just my energy. I felt like I felt like I didn't belong in church. Every time I would go and sit with all of these kids, same age and everything, and same background, I felt like they knew more than I did, or I just couldn't grasp exactly what was being taught to me. I didn't understand why these stories were being taught to me. I didn't understand why it was important to memorize certain passages or to sing a certain hymn or to get confirmed. And I just kind of had to do it because that's what I was brought up to kind of have to do up until the age of 13 when I was confirmed. It's pretty funny, to be confirmed, you have to do community service. And my church was really cool because they were like, well, if you like to dance, you can dance in front of the congregation as one of your points. You need 5 points, or I don't know what it was called, in order to get confirmed. So I was like, sweet, I'm gonna dance in front of the church. It was so funny because I danced to I bought this Christian CD, and I picked a song, and I created a dance, and I performed in front of the congregation at the age of 13. Turns out after the show, I had this huge hole in my stockings and my tights, like in my inner thigh. And I did things where my leg would go up above my head, and I just look back at that. I'm like, I did that to get confirmed. It doesn't even make sense to me, but it's pretty funny. So eventually, after I got confirmed, my mom was like, okay, so you don't have to go to church anymore, or you can go to church. It's totally up to you. It's not anything I'm going to force upon you anymore. And I'm like, sweet, peace out. I'm out of here, because this was never meant for me. And I just don't feel like myself. I feel ashamed, and there was no good feeling. And I feel badly about saying this because that church was really nice. And now that I think back to it, it was really interesting to get confirmed. We spent the night at the church. Literally, I slept over at my church. It is haunted. I mean, 100%. There were spirits there that were, oh my God, it was the scariest nights of my life, staying overnight at a church. Could you imagine that? An old church, and you have to sleep there? I didn't sleep. I remember a door swung open, and I'm like, I don't know what that is, but that's not something I want to be a part of right now. I literally had to do this to get confirmed in order to be an upstanding Presbyterian person. I still don't get it. I still don't get a lot of aspects of being Presbyterian. I repressed a lot of it while I was there. I was not focused. But some of the teachings were nice when they're about love and gratitude, what religion should be about. But other times I'm like, why? I don't get it. And why are you passing around the can so we can give you money every Sunday? And we did. I always was happy when I gave $1. And also when I got my little, we didn't have wine at my church. They gave out grape juice in little plastic cups. So we all had a shot of grape juice, and they passed out bread, actual bread, not those, the ones that you get in Catholic church, the wafers. It was actual bread. So that was cool. Snack time at church was the best part about it. I'm at least there's snacks while I have to sit here. And it was just so long, and it was draining to sit there. So I would always have a headache when I was at church. So, all right, I finished my spout with religion at the age of about 13 because I was done. I was done with it. I had the choice finally. So I said no more. So after that, I kind of just did not associate with religion or didn't really think about it at all. It was just kind of this time in my life where I was growing up and getting my period and doing my thing at school and figuring out my life. So I wasn't focused on religion or spirituality at all, at all. Until, you get into high school, maybe college, and other people around you are religious, or you start to talk about oh my God, that girl is so religious, and then talking about your own beliefs. I remember in high school, with a friend being it is so stupid to believe in God. How do you even know that that's real? Obviously that's so stupid. I will believe it when I see it. So I guess that's not atheism. That's the other term, agnostic. So I was I think I'm agnostic now. I felt so cool. Not really, but on the outer level, I felt cool about that decision of being agnostic. This wasn't anything I said out loud, but when I talked to certain friends about this, or a friend about this, it was very much so people are really stupid for being religious, and I'm better than you because I don't believe in that crap. That was kind of my very immature way of thinking in the in-between of being Presbyterian and now being very spiritual. So yeah, it was kind of atheism, agnostic. And then I reached a point where I just kind of was on and off depressed for a long time. I won't totally, I don't think the cause is totally in regards to my religion or spiritual beliefs at all. I really don't think that. But I think that it was an actual big aspect to it, more so than I think I'm even right now giving myself credit for, because Yeah, it's actually a big aspect of that. When I became depressed, like consciously depressed, because there's a long time, if anyone has experienced this, I feel like most humans do, where you're just kind of like blah, or like you wake up and you're not excited and you're just like, I have to do this. And you're not really connected to anything besides your external world and going to work and having to do this and having that. And so I just like eventually became extremely depressed. And this depression came on when I actually moved to Florida. And it was like the most beautiful weather ever. And I moved there because my niece, I've talked about this, my niece was about to be born or she was just born, and I had seasonal depression. So I moved to Florida, but I just felt kind of like I was in church. Like, what is going, like, I just felt disconnected. And it's because I was disconnected. I was disconnecting myself from spirituality, which is basically, it's not a belief system. It's just the way of being. Like, I now consider myself super spiritual because I am in the know that I'm connected to something bigger than myself. Now, I do call this source God, but I call it source mostly because we are all energetic beings that came from somewhere. So our souls are in or around our bodies, and they came from a source, which is a lot of people call God, or some people call it like the universe, energy, or light. And we are all a fragment of this one big source. So when people say, I do want to talk about Jesus, that Jesus is we need to pray to him because he is the Son of God, and he is, I don't know, all knowing. I don't even really know the exact beliefs around Jesus, but I know that he is someone he's the reason that dude broke up with me, because I didn't have a good enough relationship with Jesus. I remember him being like, Jesus is my number one, and he must be your number one in order for us to be together. And I'm like, God damn it. Are you sure? Your cuddles are nice. Like, I have to believe in Jesus to cuddle with you. Oh my God, oh my Jesus. So what is really interesting about calling Jesus the Son of God is that he's not the only Son of God. So whatever you believe in, God, source, the universe, maybe you don't believe in anything, but maybe you can just listen to this with an open mind. We are all the son, the daughter, the children of the Lord. We are all a piece of God. We are all God, not just Jesus. Jesus was an example of, he mastered basically the art of spirituality, and he made history, and he's written in history. And we know him to be someone who was an alchemist who turned water to wine. And he was a human. He tapped into different aspects of his human DNA in order to become an alchemist, in order to reach people and to be in that state of mind that he lived in, it wasn't even a state of mind. It was a state of being, which is love and gratitude and compassion. Compassion, compassion, compassion. That's what I forgot to write down. It was Christ consciousness. That's another way of saying, like, up-leveling yourself, or like going from the 3D reality to a 5D reality, or kind of having, I know this is kind of like weird terminology, or just kind of like expanding your mind to a higher consciousness. That is like Christ consciousness, basically. And he had that as a human. So, but people nowadays pray to Jesus as if he is God, as if he is like another source, but he is a part of that source. So that I never really knew what I'm just talking about right now about Jesus, but I knew that something wasn't right about praying to a man. Now, you can pray to a man. I mean, I think it's cool to pray to Jesus because his soul still exists, and he is an energy that is literally an energy of compassion and love. It's almost like praying to angels, which is awesome. That's pulling in positive light. It's pulling in positive energy. So that's a really cool concept when you can think about, okay, wait, so if Jesus was like this amazing figure of the past, I can be that too. Now, what religion doesn't teach us is that we can be that too. They actually teach us that this is a little extreme, you're a piece of shit and you sin all the time and you need to repent, or you need to talk to some guy in a box and let him know all the shit you've done so you can not go to hell. Whereas that doesn't actually, it irks me. Because I feel like that is fear-based. That makes religion, to me, a fear-based system versus faith-based. God is love. You are God. And you have all of the power to do just as much amazing work in your life as Jesus did. And I know some churches are different than others. Again, this is a very big generalization, and I don't want to offend anyone. But again, just open mind here, open mind. This is just my perspective and my spewing of what I have learned and come to know and come to inquire about. You know, and like, so Jesus has been prayed to because he died for our sins. So like what that tells me is that like religion is telling you that you are sinful and you must give your life over to Jesus in order to live a happy life, which seems so backwards of what religion should be. It should be, no one's perfect. We're humans after all. And you can connect to this amazing source of energy, of light, God, universe, whatever. And you don't have to feel bad about all of the sins that you have ever done. You don't have to feel bad for accidentally breaking something or when you were younger doing bad shit that like you just didn't know any better. You don't have to feel guilty about that for the rest of your life. And I feel like religion makes you feel guilty. It makes you feel like you need to be in fear because if you don't do a certain thing, then you are going to hell. And the idea of hell, especially as a kid, is really fucking scary. The idea of hell, I was like, that's another aspect of why I was so shaken in like a really bad way every time I went to church. Because the idea of hell and like, I don't know if some churches talk about the devil, probably. And like certain things are like equivalent to the devil, which is like crystals or, you know, witchy things. How many stories have I heard about in the past and like in the history books of witches being burned because their ideas were kind of expansive and a little bit different than that, you know, whatever was in that box that was in society at that time of what is right to believe in. We're expanding now with this in this world and in our communities and within ourselves. We are right now going through this really expansive time. And I think that's why I keep getting headaches, ringing in my ears and sneezing. Like those are weird symptoms, but I feel like it's just strange because I don't usually sneeze this much. I don't usually have headaches like this every day for the past week. And I have been having this like ringing in my ear. Very like almost one time it was like a bell. Like, you know, when your phone goes off, like a bell, it's like in my ear. And I just think something's going on with the energies out there. I don't know what it is, but I'm kind of excited about it, even though my head hurts. But anyways, so yeah, Jesus was someone who was basically an example of Christ consciousness in the past. And he is giving all of this glory, which he deserves because he is the most compassionate man basically that ever existed besides Buddha. But there's other people that have done just as amazing things or even crazier amazing things than Jesus in regards to like how he or she has helped people, just different people in the past that like, why don't we pray to Maya Angelou? You know, maybe people do. I don't know. But it's just something to think about. It's just something that is really interesting. Like, why do we pray to this dude? You know? What else? So Yeah. So religion, basically, to me, it seems like it's put out there, and I'm very much so questioning powers in general. So, like when it comes to government, religion, just because I'm awakened to this world where I understand that not everything is being told to us, that is true. Like there's a truth out there that's not totally being given to us because there's a lot of power and truth. And a lot of times the big companies or the big, the Catholic Church or whatever, they want us to think in a very specific way and kind of almost like lowering our vibration so we're not as like woke to the truth, which isn't necessarily so easy to swallow. So I think that religion is kind of like, it's put out there as like, religion will save you. And I will say that religion plays a really amazing part in so many people's lives and has saved so many people's lives. And I am grateful for religion in that aspect because, I totally just lost my train of thought. Okay. I got it back. My mind, I tell you. So some people are going down really unhealthy paths in their life, and they have used religion as like their saving grace. They have found God, they found Jesus or whatever, and that's an amazing thing. But for me, like religion is something that I can see through. But a lot of people need it almost like as a crutch, as like this like answer. Like when I was depressed, I became spiritual. But some people become like really religious, and it's just kind of a form of spirituality, but it's a little bit more of like, a specific type of spirituality. But I just think that it's kind of put out there. Like like how many signs did I see when I drove across the country? Jesus will save you. Call this number and talk to Jesus. And I'm like, I'm curious to call that number because I want to talk to Jesus. Like, that's cool. But it's just really interesting. It's really, really interesting to think about. But again, like that message of like, we will save you. It also means that you are not okay as you are without religion. It makes it seem like you need religion in order to flourish and to like be a good person. And I don't like that message. Again, big blanket statement about religion. It's not every single church, every single, little aspect. Because I know there's amazing churches out there, including the one I went to. And it's a great tool for a lot of people, but like, we got to ask yourself, like, why does religion cause wars? Like, why is it an aspect of fighting, of like, and I think it's because it's a power that causes division. It is a power in general. So like when a power has power, it wants to hold the power. So it kind of has to do whatever it can to hold that power. That's why a lot of people in power do stupid, shitty, not necessarily stupid, probably very smart, but shitty things in order to gain more control. And then of course, money. A lot of this is, okay, all of it is run by money. I'm just going to say that. It drives religion. It really does, because there's just so much power when it comes to, we'll just use it as an example, the Catholic Church, kind of like having that power over you. And I'm comparing it to the government because it's this power that we need to conform to. Unfortunately, like I can't decide to not be under the government's control because I'm living here and I like need to abide by rules. Otherwise I'll be put in prison. And religion has adapted their churches over time. A lot of churches have adapted to like us moving up in the world, and just like literally like gay people exist. Okay. And they're not actually bad people. Okay. And there's a lot of churches that have definitely progressed and have gotten more like open-minded, but it's still a container that is a little too constricting for my liking, at least. People are finding their truths and standing up for their truths. So they're not going to want to go to church and hear a preacher talk about how horrible it is to be gay. So over time, these churches have changed and they have gotten a little bit more accepting. which again, like to me, religion should equal acceptance and love, like unconditional love, right? Yet it's taught me fear. Religion has taught me fear. My spirituality, on the other hand, has taught me unconditional love, like truly, madly, deeply. Okay. And yeah, the rigidness about religion is something that I'm just my personality type. I can't have like constraints around me when it comes to a job, when it comes to time and how I spend my time and all of these things about myself. When I feel like I'm being constricted, I want to fucking go crazy. And that's what religion is to me. So I like can't have any part of it. I want to create my own shit. I want to do my own, I want to create my own religion. And let's see. Yeah. So I want to talk more about spirituality because I feel like I'm talking a lot about religion, but it's important in order for us to kind of understand both aspects, like you can't understand light without dark, up without down, blah, 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 all the paradoxes. So in spirituality, I have explored, I have questioned, I have shifted my beliefs. I have gone all over the place in my head, in my butt, like literally, physically, mentally, and spiritually. Like I have gone so many different places. I've gone down really weird rabbit holes, but I've also found some amazing truths from different spiritual teachers, books, lots of different things that I take in. But if I were to do that within a religious context, that's not believing that's actually like not being that religion. That's not actually being a whatever it is, Catholic. When you're a Catholic, you believe X, Y, Z. And if you don't, or if you stray off, or you do want to believe your own thing, then you're going to go to hell. That's so scary. It's really scary. Hell is inevitable. If you believe this, or if you're gay, or that, or this, again, blanket statement. I know a lot. We've come a long way in religion, but the fact that there are so many people that still exist to this day that think that being gay is a sin and you're going to hell if you're gay, or if you don't believe that Jesus is the number one entity in your life, you're going to hell. That is so scary. Tell me that's not fear-based. That is fear-based. How is that religion? My mom and I have talked about this in the past too. It's like religion shouldn't be all or nothing, or like, you are this, and if you don't go to church every Sunday, or if you don't pray in this way, or if you don't read this book, or if you don't say certain things at a certain time, or if you don't really rigidly believe these certain things, you are going to hell. That is so scary. And I keep reiterating that because children are given these messages, and it's scary. It's really scary. Whereas spirituality is this place where I have found euphoria. I have found different modalities. I've found different ways of praying. Like I pray. I started praying because I realized that when I became even more, I'm deepening my spirituality more and more and more and more as the years go on, as I find more tools and ideas, and it's just turning into something else. But like in a religion, you can't really turn it into something else because your beliefs are here and they need to stay here in order to get to heaven. Now, let me talk about my belief. I did touch upon this. Put my notebook down now. I did touch upon this in my last episode about heaven and hell. I believe that there is no hell and there is no heaven. Okay, let me re-say this. I believe in heaven and hell, but I believe that we will experience heaven and or hell on earth while we are here as humans. This idea of heaven and hell is very scary because if you're this way, you go to heaven. If you're this way, you go to hell. And if you're kind of in between, you're probably going to hell because, you're not committed or whatever. But for me, as a spiritual person, I have learned and began to believe that we can really truly experience heaven on earth or hell on earth. And I've experienced both. And maybe you probably have too. I think most humans do. There's times in our lives where we experience euphoria, excitement, just like all of the beautiful gratitude, love, when you're within a relationship that just feels really good, or you just had an awesome conversation with someone that inspired you. Like, that's a piece of heaven. There's angels on earth. You can be an angel on earth. I'm an angel on earth. I try to be as much as I can. And there's also angels like spiritually around us that we cannot see spiritually. I mean, it's all spiritual. And I think that when we die, we go back to source, and then our energy is redistributed. So whether that means coming back, being reincarnated into another body. I talk about this sometimes with my boyfriend, Joe. We talk about what happens when our souls leave our bodies when we die. I think that these are thoughts. These are just ideas that I have. This is not like a belief, like a hardcore belief that I have, because I don't know. But it's different things that I inquire about within my spirituality. Where do our souls go? Can I take a sip of my tea real quick? It's lavender, chamomile, lemon balm. Where do our souls go? Do they just like stay as like one thing and then like go into another body? Or do they kind of disperse and maybe go into different things? Like maybe a part of me is a tree, or was a tree, or animals and things like that. It's just so interesting to think about. So like when you look at your dog or something, your dog has a soul. So what do you think? Where do you think that soul came from? This is just, I just like to question these things and wonder. It excites me. I like these questions because it just opens up a portal of like, whoa, what is life? What is death? What is reality? What is not reality? What is true? What's not true? And your dog could be maybe an accumulation of other souls that have passed on, like human souls or other dimensional souls, or maybe it's one soul. You know how people say, like, I think, again, I don't know what it is with this Phoebe reference from Friends, but she thought that a cat was her grandmother, right? Didn't that happen? Or maybe it was a person, or I don't know. She does all that weird shit. I love her for that. But who knows? Like if one soul like stays put and then it like jumps from like a human body or animal body or tree, like whatever in nature, it's just really interesting to think about. Whereas in religion, it's like, if you do this, you're going to heaven. If you do this, you're going to hell. But for me, I'm like, no, the possibilities are literally endless. You know, like I'm already experiencing heaven and hell on earth. I try as much as I can to live in heaven and to create a heavenly type of atmosphere, not only physically, but internally. We have control over that. We really do. We have way more control than we think. And that is why religion rubs me the wrong way, is they don't allow you to feel like you are in control. It's more of something that is controlling your outcome. But we can control our outcome. It's really exciting. I mentioned in my previous episode that I've been reading this book called What Happens When We Die. And it's super interesting because a lot of people experience different things. And depending on what you believe, you kind of see whatever it is when you die. A lot of people see their, ancestors, they're like family members, their relatives that have passed on before them. And some people see figures of God-like figures, or just light, or just stars, whatever. There's a lot of different things that people see. But in general, it's a feeling of bliss, a complete feeling. It's actually unexplainable from what I've read. Like, it's unexplainable, the feeling that you feel. But most of the time when people are in hospital beds and they're going through surgery and they're dying, their soul is above them and their soul is watching them, they don't want to go back into their body because it is such a blissful, peaceful feeling of freedom and no attachments and like no body, no feeling of pain. It's just this ultimate feeling of love, which is the feeling of source. That's what source is love. It's an energy of love. If you listen to Joe Dispenza at all, this is real. I really love him because he incorporates science. Like, he's a neuroscientist and he knows the ins and outs of the brain, how it works. So he uses science to explain kind of all of this stuff of how we can reach source through controlling our brains into like basically he takes people through meditations to connect them with the healing energy of source, which is the feeling of complete gratitude and love. And that's where we find our bliss in life, is the more we connect to the feeling of love and gratitude, that is us connecting to source energy. Isn't that cool? Like, we literally become more connected to God or the universe or the light when we are in that frequency of gratitude and love. Gratitude and love. And you might, it's really interesting because I started to feel this feeling, not in my whole life, because I was very shut down in my life. I didn't really know the power that we hold as humans. And I didn't understand that, religion is something that, I didn't think about the things that I do now. And I felt very stuck and I fell into a depression when I wasn't believing in anything. It made me feel so empty because I'm like, nothing matters. What does it matter? We're just living this linear life. We're going to die and then we're gone. And I didn't even think about it in the death way, just in the present moment way. I'm like, what does it matter? Like, I just feel shitty because I have to work at this job. I was disconnected. From source. But now I am super connected, and I feel out of alignment when I don't connect enough, when I'm not allowing myself to feel love and gratitude. And I've talked in my past episode about connecting to my inner child and needing to do that because that is source energy. When you look at children, they are in their own world. Where are they? They're in another dimension. Like, truly they are, because they have not been tainted by the fucking bullshit that is constantly being thrown at us. They're not yet there, and they will get there. God damn it. But when you look at children, they are the purest, lightest, I guess, and just like I guess purest is the best word, form of a human that exists, that is in source energy. Like, that's why we need to connect to our inner children instead of walking around like, oh, I need to go to work. Oh, I have to do this. I have to present myself in this way. I need to do this. I need to do this. I need to do this. All of these need to do's actually pull us away from source, because we're not really thinking about what we love to do or how we really want to feel. We're thinking what we have to do. And again, that's just disconnection. So the more we connect to our inner child, like, there's different ways of connecting to source. That's just like an epiphany that came over me. There's different ways of connecting to source. A lot of people like to meditate. A lot of people like to pray. Now, these are like active things, or meditative. When you meditate, it's not active, but it's something you're trying to do to connect to source. But what if, when we live our lives day to day, we are connected to source energy, not just when we're praying, not just when we're meditating, not just when we are confessing our sins. Like, what if throughout our day, our days, our weeks, our months, we can connect to source energy, like, throughout our day, like in every moment, like right now. I feel most connected to source when I'm doing this kind of thing, and I'm like channeling any messages that are like resonating with me, because I know that they will resonate with someone, even if it's just one person. You might think I'm crazy. That's okay. I know I'm crazy, and I want to be crazier. Like, I actually do. I really want to go wild. I'm wearing this sweater because I feel like it reminds me of like a Catholic school or something. And I just want to rip it off and go wild. I'm not going to rip it off right now. My God. But do you know what I mean? Like, I want to expand the way that I live, because I know that the way I've been living is disconnecting me from source. It's disconnecting me from love and gratitude. I have to actively be like, okay, I'm grateful. And it's almost frustrating sometimes especially when you're just coming into your spirituality, when you have a spiritual awakening, which I had like 1.5 to 2 years ago. I've had more since, but like my ultimate one of like becoming spiritual, it's hard to navigate at first because there's a lot to know, there's a lot to unknow, and there's so much information out there that it's hard to discern what is true and what's not. But the beauty about spirituality is we can discern, and we have the ability to make a choice of what resonates and what does not. It's not believe this, go to hell. It's believe all of this and you're still going to go to the same place. You can believe this and then not this the next day. We're all going to be going to the same place. I think that a lot of people just make their lives harder because they're so hell-bent on staying in this one container of a label. And I hate labels for that reason too, is it's limiting. It's very limiting, especially nowadays where with different genders and identities. All of these labels are finally being broken down because there's not a place anymore in this dimension that we're going into on Earth right now. We're really going to be leaping into better realities, and also not necessarily better, but like crazier. I feel like there's going to be things that happen that aren't necessarily good. I mean, the coronavirus, coronavirus is a very spiritual occurrence to me and to a lot of people. Why? Because it's causing awakenings. The coronavirus has caused a lot of people to question things like I have, and maybe question their own beliefs like I have. And it's exciting. That is not to say that the lives that have been lost are like, I totally respect every person that has been sick and that have lost their lives from the Rona. But at the same time, there's a bigger awakening happening. And I don't know, I always question like even the coronavirus, like, is it a distraction or was this kind of put here to manipulate? And yeah, it was something that didn't just accidentally get let loose. There's a lot of different theories and there's a lot of different reasons this happened. But when I tap into my spirituality and source, it's for the greater good. And I know that will maybe trigger some people because I know that it's a really hard time to wear masks, to separate ourselves, to not do our normal social things, and to see on the news that a lot of people are dying from it. That's not something that we like. But because it is so extreme, our world actually needed this in order to be like, hello, what's going on? What's going on? Who's in charge? Where's this information coming from? It's a great awakening. It's a really big awakening. And I'm grateful, even though the coronavirus sucks. Like there's so many days where I'm like, fuck this. I just need this to be over. Because again, that feeling of being controlled, of having to do certain things or not able to do certain things, that is such a restricting feeling. So obviously no one likes that feeling. But this has gone on so long that people are now especially questioning. And we need to question these things. You can't just listen to one source of information and automatically be like, that is the truth because this person, I really respect them. Or this person is on the news, or this person is a doctor. They're still humans. They still have different agendas to fill. We don't have to go about our lives in like oh, yes, that is the truth. Oh, It's okay, listen. Discern. That is my word of 2020, by the way, is discernment. And I've learned to discern so much this year because there's a lot of information out there. There's a lot of good stuff, a lot of bad stuff, and there's a lot of stuff that is just distracting us too. Like I really believe. So when it comes to spirituality, when we tap into to source, I mean, spirituality, I kind of want to define what is spirituality. I should have done this to begin with. Religion is this, spirituality is this, but hey, I'm not someone who has a perfect way of going about all of these videos or whatever, but you're with me, right? So spirituality to me is just spirituality is connecting to my inner knowing and to source. That's what spirituality is to me. And it's allowing myself to flow and to change and to actually like believe something one day and then not the next day and not go to hell for it. That's spirituality. Spirituality is connecting yourself deeper to yourself, which is a piece of source. Spirituality is connecting deeper to your inner child, which is a piece of source. Spirituality allows you to expand and grow, whereas religion keeps you contained. I want to know if you agree with me or if you have any opposing views or if you think anything I said was really like, whoa, I didn't think about it that way. If you want to leave a comment, that would be awesome. Like this video. If you're watching on YouTube, I'm also recording on Anchor for my podcast. Obviously, this is my first podcast, it's my first live streamed podcast episode. Is there anything else I want to leave you with in regards to spirituality? I'm just trying to tap into my inner knowing and my truth. Okay. So I respect everyone's beliefs. I'm not here to make you feel bad if you are religious, or I just want to expand the consciousness of society, of the world, of the collective. I want to expand it because there's so much more that we're not tapping into that we really, really can. And I think we should, because when we do that, we become more peaceful. We can become more at peace with ourselves. We can discern truth, not just be told a quote unquote truth and have to abide by that. Otherwise we are punished. I think that we really can create our own religion for ourselves and label it whatever we want, or don't label it at all. I don't like labels. And it's all about respecting each other and loving each other and being grateful that we have this life to live. Again, when you tap into that frequency, it is source energy. I know that there's probably more I want to say, but I'll leave it at that because I'm going on about 50 minutes. I can ramble longer, and I probably will do that eventually. So thank you for watching today. This live stream I'm going to save on YouTube so you can watch it back, because I know you're going to want to do that. Yeah, so thank you so much for listening today. I wish you the best. I wish you the ability to discern, to feel like you are worthy of love, of all of the amazing feelings that you have every right to feel, regardless of your beliefs. I want to empower you to be able to find your own truth and to feel love for yourself, which again, connection to source. I'll definitely be talking more about this in the future. I hope you enjoyed it, and let me know what you think. You can comment on my YouTube channel. You can give me a rating on my podcast, or, just do all the things, the thumbs up and the likes and the subscribes. That would be really helpful because I'm just getting going with this. So I really want to get my messages out there. Although my topics might be taboo or like different than what you're used to hearing, it would be really cool to get this expansive type of knowledge. And like, I don't want to say knowledge because it's not, these are my opinions, but I have found a lot of truth within my opinion. So you know what I mean. Anyways, thank you so much for tuning in, and I will catch you next time on Podcas.